Hello everyone, my name is Alison from Alison Tarrant Education. These 4 words on the board are mathematical terms: quotient, product, difference and sum. Now you just wouldn't believe how many people don't know the correct meaning for these words. And when they go to do word problems for maths, what happens? Because they don't know the meaning, they get the word problems wrong. So I'm going to cover each word one by one, what each word means and how you use them. Now let's have a look at the word quotient. Now what quotient actually is to do with is division. So quotient is to do with this symbol here when you're dividing things. And here is what it means. The quotient is the answer that you get when you divide 2 numbers. So here are our 2 numbers. You have the number 20 and the number 5. And if you divide these 2 numbers and you get an answer, which is 4, 4 there is the quotient. 4 is the answer you get when you divide 2 numbers. Now you can also divide the numbers like this. We might divide this by 2. So when we divide these 2 numbers, which is 482 divided by 2, we get this number. So 482 divided by 2 has a quotient of 241. So let's just go over this again. You have the word quotient. Children will see it in tests and worksheets. It is something to do with division. The quotient is the answer that you get when you divide 2 numbers. 20 divided by 5 is 4. 4 is the quotient. 482 divided by 2 is 241. 241 is the quotient. Now let's look at the word product. Product actually is to do with multiplication. So we've got the multiplication symbol here. But what it actually means is this. The product is the answer you get when you multiply 2 numbers. So if I have the number 5 and I have the number 6 and I multiply these 2 numbers, 5 times 6, and I get the answer of 30. This number here, that is the product. 30 is the product of 5 and 6. And if we go over here, we have 224 multiplied by 2. So when we multiply this number, just quickly do that. The answer is 448. And that answer is also the product. It's the answer that you get when you multiply 224 by 2. So let's just revise this again. Product is to do with multiplication. The product is the answer you get when you multiply 2 numbers together. So 5 and 6, if you multiply them together, you get the product of 30. And the numbers 224 and 2, the product of these 2 numbers, when you multiply them together, is 448. Now let's have a look at the word difference. Difference simply means take away or subtract. And here's the actual meaning. The difference is the answer that you get when you take away one number from another. So if we have the number 20 and we're taking away 8 and the answer is 12, 12 is the difference between 20 and 8. So it is the answer that you get when you subtract 20, take 8. And over here, you have another number taking away a number. So I'll just quickly do this. So 453 take away 210, 243 is the difference between these two numbers. So we'll just go over that quickly again. Difference is to do with take away. The difference is the answer that you get when you take away one number from another. So if you have 20 take 8, you get 12. 12 is the difference between 20 and 8. And you got 453 and the number 210. The difference between these two numbers when you take them away is 243. Now let's have a look at the word sum. What sum actually means is plus or addition when you're adding numbers. So the meaning goes like this. The sum is the answer that you get when you add two numbers. So if you have 15 plus 4, there's your two numbers, or more numbers. Obviously you can add more than two numbers, but we're just keeping it simple. So 15 plus 4 is 19. So 19 is the sum when you add 15 plus 4. So that is a sum. Now if you take a look at this number here, I'll just add these numbers up and get the sum. So this would be 7, 8 and 3. So 387 is the answer that you get when you add 252 plus 135. This is the sum that you get when you add these two numbers. So 387 is the sum of these two numbers. So we'll just revise this. Sum is to do with plus or addition. The sum is the answer that you get when you add two numbers. 15 plus 4 equals 19. 19 is the sum of 15 plus 4. 252 plus 135 is 387. 387 is the sum when you add these two numbers. Now that we have covered the meanings for these four words, we can do some simple word problems. Now the four words that we've just gone over are quotient, product, difference, and sum. And here are just some simple word problems. So once again, if you know what all these words are, and if you're a child at school doing a test or a worksheet and you know what these words are, they're not a problem to you. But if you don't know what they are, you're going to find these very simple word problems quite difficult. So let's just quickly go over again what these words mean. So quotient is to do with division. Product is when you're multiplying. Difference is when you're subtracting or when you minus something. And sum is addition or plus. So let's start with the first one. What is the quotient of 24 and 6? Now remember, the quotient is the answer that you get when you divide two numbers. So let's do that. So we take 24 and we divide it by 6. And the answer to that is 4. So 4 is the quotient of 24 and 6. Now let's look at the next one. What is the product of 8 and 4? Now remember what product is. Product is the answer that you get when you multiply two numbers. So let's multiply these numbers. So we have 8 multiplied by 4 is 32. So 32 is the product of 8 and 4. What is the difference between 20 and 12? Now, difference means to subtract or take away. So if we have these two numbers, 20 take away 12 equals 8. 8 is the answer. It's the difference between 20 and 12. And then the last one, sum. So if you add these two numbers, you get an answer, which is the sum of these two numbers. So let's just do this one here. Add them. So 20 plus 3 is 23. So the answer is 23. 23 is the sum of 20 and 3. And now we'll go over a word problem that you will find in a harder test or a harder worksheet. And it will be a question like this. Find the product of 20 and 3 and the quotient of 120 and 20. Then find the difference between these two numbers. Now, when most children look at this, they find it quite complicated, but it's actually not complicated if you know what the terms mean. They have to know what this word here means, product. They have to know what quotient means, and they have to know what difference is. So now, if the person doing this word problem knows that product is the answer that you get when you multiply two numbers, that's multiply. Quotient is when you divide two numbers. And difference is when you take away or subtract two numbers. So what we'll do now is we'll work it out. So first of all, we find the product of 20 and 3. So if we have 20 multiplied by 3, because it's the product, we get 60. So the product of 20 and 3 is 60. And then if we find the quotient of 120 and 20, we will go like this. 120 divided by 20 is 6. And then it's asking us to find the difference between these two numbers. Now these two numbers are 60 from the product of 20 and 3 and 6 from which is the quotient of 120 and 20. So when you have these two numbers and you're finding their difference, we put the higher number on the top and we take away, because difference means take away or subtract, we take away 6. So the answer is 54.